Hey folks, Kevin here from Florida Kayak Fishing. You can see this is what's left of my old anchor. That's a goner. So I did get a replacement. This is the exact same one I had. It's a 3.5 pound grapple anchor. Got it off Amazon. Has 20 or 30 feet of rope with it. A floating buoy so you can disconnect and let it go if you need to. And a clip to put it in my boat. I had my old anchor rigged exactly like it comes from the factory. So line's going straight to the top just like it should be. What that doesn't allow you to do is pull it out of the rocks or break away from it if you snag the anchor. And areas I fish, you tend to snag a lot. First step is we're going to disconnect this anchor line from the regular part of the anchor, the shaft of the anchor, and we're going to reattach it using the anchor splice. And I'll call it the modified anchor splice, but we're going to reattach it to the bottom of this. So before we cut it, make sure you feel in that splice and you can feel where it's doubled up and then it thins out. And right above that is where we want to cut it. And just for a safety tip, I'm going to leave this knot on here so I can go back and look at it. I'm trying to recreate this factory knot exactly on the bottom side, but I'm going to just leave it here until later on so I can check back with it from time to time. So right about here is where the line singles back out and you can feel there's a lump there and then it goes to a skinnier main line. So basically, that's where we're going to cut it. The tools you need for this job are pretty simple. A razor knife to cut through or something good and sharp. And I've got a cutting board here so I don't damage my table. Pair of scissors, may or may not need them, but they're here. You're going to need what's called a fid. So this is actually a professional fid. I had a fid kit in my toolbox, which is convenient, but it's basically just a spike used for splicing ropes. This is such a simple splice that you could replace this for a knitting needle or even a chopstick if you sharpened it up. Anything like that will work. 5 or 6 inches long should work just fine. So let's get right into it. And then I've also got 2 pieces of masking tape, about 1.5 inches piece. So before I cut this, so the line doesn't fray out, I'm going to go find that spot that we talked about before, and I'm going to put that masking tape right around that rope there, and I'm going to saw right through that middle of that masking tape so the frayed ends don't start running around everywhere. One thing I want to pay attention to is I'm going to cut this at a very sharp angle. I'm not going to cut it straight across. I'm going to cut it so this rope comes out there with a taper on it or a point on it, and this is the anchor line. So the first step is we're going to have to poke a hole through this main line sideways. You want to get yourself about 8 or 9 inches. So that's 6, that's about 9, doesn't have to be perfect. And start pushing the weave together like this at that 9-inch mark to get it expanded. And if you can hold it with one hand, you can actually see the threads popping apart. You want to drill a hole right through the center of the rope. And you want to make sure you do not pick up any of the little fibers. You want to make sure you get it through the weave but not the fibers. And you want to check both sides. So that's perfect. Once you get the hole through at the 9-inch mark, just kind of collapse some more of the braided line onto itself towards the fid to just loosen it all up. That way that'll give you enough room to start plying this and create a little bit larger hole. It's pretty flexible and easy to work with. You want to get a hole there to get your finger through it. Okay, and it seems like when you get your finger through it, that hole tends to stay kind of formed and easy to work with. So I'm going to leave my finger through it for the time being. We're going to start the splice. So let's go back to our tag end. We're going to go starting from the top. We're going to go down through the anchor, and then we're going to take this tag end and come back up through that hole we created, just like that. And you can see that's the control point for the size of the loop around the anchor, and I like my loop pretty tight, but we're not going to get into the tightening until later on. Just pull it in snug enough to keep everything together. Now that we've got the tag end pushed through the main line and through the anchor, we're going to take that tag end, we're going to come around to the right and under, back up on the left, and the loop we've created from that, we're going to push the tag end through it and basically create a simple overhand knot right there. Okay, and I'm going to pull it just tight enough to where everything stays put, and we'll get all to the tightening in a little bit. So final step is we need to get this tag end down through this main line's core. This is hollow core. We're going to use our fid, and we're going to start right at that hole that we created at the beginning. And it's pretty simple. You just keep pushing the main line up on it, and it'll open up as you do that, and that fit will continue to go down through it. Get 90% of that fit in there, like that. Alright, so now once we've got that fit inserted into the main line, we want to come back to this tag end, and we want to attach this tag end to the back side of this fit. Now, since this is actually a splicing tool, it makes it pretty easy for me. I can just stuff it in that hole. If you had a chopstick or a crochet needle or something like that, you might have to butt it and run some tape. I still tape it to the fit, and it just a little bit of tape will work. So once we've got that taped, we're going to basically come back to the very tip of this fit, and we're going to push it through the main line and have it exit, and then we're going to start feeding this tag end down into the main line. And if you just bunch it up, this will continue to, there you go. So now it's starting to go in. And you can do a combination of pushing the tag end in and also going down to the fit end and pulling it out. You can see that knot slowly tightens. Now that it tightens, we want to start going in here and making our adjustments. So right here is where I'm going to go in, and I'm going to make sure I've got this loop nice and tight like I like it. There, that's good and tight for the loop. And then the overhand is the line that's going to go down, and which is the tag end. So there, I've got that looking nice and tight. I'm going to exit the tag end from the core, and this is where I'm going to tighten her up. And again, I just keep forming it until it's just like I like it. So you can see my loop is nice and small. My knot looks nice and neat. I've got the core of the tag end sticking out right here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my fit now and all the tape. There we go. And if you remember, we cut this at a sharp taper. So once this tag end goes inside of the hollow core, it'll form a nice smooth transition instead of being a lump in there. So now you can see that that tag end is just about to disappear into that core. Now I'm going to go back and hold it at the knot, and I'm just going to milk this outer core down like that. And you can see the tag end just disappeared right there. And then I'm going to start gentle, and I'm going to put more pressure on it as I milk it down. And then I'm going to really bear down on it. So there, that knot is pretty much perfect. So you can see, got a nice neat knot in there, and that's exactly like the factory. I'll even compare it to the, this is the factory, the other end of my anchor line. You can see exactly the same. And also if you look at the factory knot, you'll see that the tag end, which is inserted down into the core, stops right about there. It's only about 1.5 inches or 2 inches below the knot, to where the knot we've created, my tag end is almost 6 inches down. So I think this is going to be a much stronger knot actually. So there you go. Now we've got the splice on there nice and neat. We're going to do the breakaway portion to create the rock anchor. So basically just bring this up in between the fins, and we're going to zip tie it back to the original mounting point. These are 18-pound zip ties. I'm going to use 2 of them, and I can still break that away pretty easily. Pull these in nice and tight. That second one in there. Cut them off. And then we've got an anchor that can be deployed as normal, but we can also yank on the anchor line if it's stuck and pop these zip ties off, and the anchor will turn upside down and you can pull it out of your snag. Alright, so that's the completed product. And the way I like to test it as well, before I actually get out of the water, make sure, and just put it down on the ground and give it a good snap and see if I can bust it. So there, and it pops up upside down. So that's a successful one there.